At the Water's Edge. Presented by iDreamInPlotPoints. A story-driven, episodic, immersive experience. More adventures await you on our website.
The brilliant full moon illuminated a pristine lake before them. Tossing the fiery branch into the water to extinguish it, he used his arms to hold the mermaid closer to his shoulder as he knelt upon the grass.
"Milady, we've arrived."
He bent forward, dipping her backward into the tranquil water. She submerged and swam in tight circles below the surface. He stood and began to remove his layers of clothing.
"Are you coming in or not?"
"It would not do to splash around in my boots, would it? Make some room."
"There's plenty of room. Just come in."
"Is it cold?"
"It's pleasant to me."
"Are there fish in there?"
"It's a lake." "Of course."
"Frogs?"
"Do I need to pull you in?"
"Do you really think threats will help my nerves?"
"There's nothing to fear."
"I didn't say I was afraid. And you do realize the last lake I touched upon I was done for."
"I saved you then, and I will again if necessary. Come in."
"Stop badgering me."
"Take off your last and get in this water."
"I'll keep my underclothes on, thank you very much."
Why you think them needed I'll never know.
"If I removed them you would know why quite quickly."
Would I?
"You are either exceptionally innocent or a masterful tease."
She spun in a slow circle looking up at the moon. He took a deep breath and leapt into the air, attempting a dive, flopping hard with a loud splash. He sputtered to the surface, coughing.
That looked painful.
"Yes, it did sting a bit."
He struggled to keep his head above water.
"My whole body feels like lead."
Is the wish not working?
"Oh yes, it's working splendidly."
Are you sure?
"Of course not.
Then why did you say it was?
I'm a bit too busy keeping my head above water to teach you the subtle nuances of sarcasm."
Stay calm.
"Simple for you to say."
She moved closer behind him and placed her hands on his shoulders.
"Do not choke me again."
Lie back.
"I can't lie back. My feet are pulling me to the floor."
She took his arms in her hands.
Stretch your arms out as far as you can. Do the same with your legs.
"I'll sink."
You won't. Reach them out.
He did as she said very slowly, and his body began to dip under.
"I can't do this."
You look down. That's exactly where you'll be. Tilt your head to me. Chin up and back.
She supported his head as he tilted.
Arms and legs still out. Face up to the moon. And remember to breathe.
He took stilted breaths as he leaned his head back and outstretched his limbs. He felt her move her hands along his back.
Straighten and hold.
He took a breath and held it.
Your body, not your air.
He exhaled and panted.
Shoulders back, belly to the sky.
He did as commanded.
This can't be correct. I feel ridiculous.
You're doing so well. Can you not feel it?
She placed a flat palm just below his rib cage.
Breathe from here.
I don't have gills.
Try.
He let out a breath and took one in.
That's too high. Not from your chest. Lower.
He tried again.
Good. You're doing it.
He breathed in and out, focusing on the feeling and rhythm.
Your heart is still racing. You're thinking too hard.
That's something I've not been accused of before.
She touched her lips to his cheek and he closed his eyes. She moved his arms above his head.
What are you doing?
Stretch your legs straight out, just like your arms.
He did.
You're floating. Isn't it wonderful?
He breathed slowly and opened his eyes to see the moon.
No one would ever believe this moment if I told them.
Try to swim now.
What?
You didn't wish to float. You wished to swim.
She put her arms on his waist and began to turn him.
Stop.
You said you'd test to see if the potion granted your wish. And so you must. On your stomach so you can swim.
Don't.
He pushed away from her and immediately sunk under. She set her arms to hold underneath his chest and hips, raising him up the surface.
Kick your legs and stroke your arms.
This is humiliating.
Less complaining, more kicking.
He awkwardly began pumping his arms and legs.
Don't flail about. Together. Have them work together.
He pressed knees together and moved them up and down in unison.
Good.
He moved his arms to alternate their strokes.
I'm going to let go now.
No.
You'll be all right.
She moved her arms away and he moved slightly forward in a straight line. The movement shocked him and he gasped before going under. She quickly grabbed him and pulled him up to the surface.
I did it. Did you see me?
She smiled as he held onto her shoulders.
The incantation.
What?
The old man said the wish must be made under a full moon, but after reciting the incantation, I'd forgotten completely.
She held onto his arms as she swam backward to the grassy shoreline.
Out you go. I need to concentrate.
Wait, stop.
I'm done waiting. It's my turn to take the elixir.
What if it's a trick?
How so?
What if these words do activate the potion, but for evil?
She pushed him into the muddy shore.
Evil. You've tested that it's safe.
For now, but I could be dead by morning.
No, you won't.
We don't know that. Can you not be content just to be yourself?
She stared at him, frozen by his words. He moved to kiss her, but pulled at the necklace. She gripped his wrists in protest.
You wouldn't even know about the elixir if it wasn't for me, and I'm taking it.
She dived under, taking him with her. He kicked sporadically and fruitlessly, releasing his grip and drifting away. He sank to the lake's bottom, touching the muck of the floor. His hand was taken by hers, and she dragged him to the surface, bursting to the top. Pushing him onto the land once more as he gasped for air.
You stay there and keep out of the way.
Maya, please.
She clutched the small bottle in her hands and looked up at the moon.
Spiritus Lune. Exordi me et die voluntatem meme. Rappel me loose. Tuaret impul necessitatem meme.
That's Latin, that is.
You understand it?
Yes, it's a language I learned in my school days.
What does it mean?
Spirits of the moon, hear me and grant my desire. Fill me with your light and fulfill my need.
So it's not a trick. It will work. Say it with me, please.
I'll have no part of it.
Spiritus Lune, exordi me et die voluntatem meme. Rappel me loose tuaret impul necessitatem meme. Spiritus Lune, exordi me et die voluntatem meme. Rappel me loose tuaret impul necessitatem meme.
The liquid within the bottle began to glow a vivid blue.
It certainly didn't do that before.
It's working. Say it with me, Thomas. Spiritus Lune, exordi me et die voluntatem meme. Rappel me loose tuaret impul
necessitatem meme.
I wish to breathe and walk as a human until we reach the ocean, and then I become a mermaid again to swim away.
She uncorked the bottle and pressed it to her lips, drinking all that remained inside. As she drank, he continued to repeat the phrase.
Spiritus Luni, audite me et desideria ius detis. Impul illum lumintor, et necessitatem ilius impul.
She coughed and clasped her throat.
Maya.
He grabbed her shoulders and pulled her towards him, holding her as she strained.
You're right. It tastes awful.
You mermaid.
Hopefully not for much longer.
He made a fist in anger, but then embraced her tighter.
How long before I'm like you?
With a bit of luck, never.
They held onto each other as they waited.
Why has nothing happened? It was supposed to have worked. Why hasn't it worked?
Did I not tell you?
He swore it was magic.
His last words were a lie like so many he spoke in life.
I make a mess of everything I do.
It's not as bad as that.
You don't understand. I would not need to flee to the ocean had I just stayed still in the first place.
What does that mean?
I can't tell you.
I told you my life story, Now you tell me yours.
No, no, you'll hate me.
I think that bottle was full of spirits after all. You had the look of someone after too many pints and too much carousing. Rest now and you'll feel better in the morning.
He patted her shoulder and began to gather his waiting clothes.
Thomas?
If you'll excuse me, I'll try to avoid catching my death of cold.
He walked behind the nearest tree.
A bit of privacy if you would. Avert your eyes.
She turned and looked up at the moon imploringly. She closed her eyes and began reciting the incantation again and restating her wish.
Enough of the language of the ancients. If it was going to work, it would have done. The moment has passed.
She looked to see him dressed in the clothes of when she first ever caught sight of him.
Perhaps if we said it together once more.
I am tired. I am cold. Go to sleep.
I'll tell you my story if you hold my hand.
He ran a hand through his damp hair.
Is it a long story?
I don't know. I've never told it.
He laid on his back, staring at the moon, and extended his arm.
Go on then. I'll try not to fall asleep, but I promise nothing.
She took his hand and turned over in hers. Using her finger, she traced patterns on his palm.
Are you going to read my fortune? That's very irritating and it tickles something awful. Lie your head down.
She folded her arms and rested her head. He laid his face near to hers and stroked her hair.
Now tell me your story. You say you were hatched at the lake. And it's the only home you've known. And it's only been yourself, sister and cousins?
For a while now.
There were more of your kind?
I only know what I've heard in stories.
Campfires and stories, remember?
We've left the campfire behind.
You would deprive me of a bedtime story?
Long ago, the lake was filled with mermaids and mermen.
Mermen?
Yes. You need both to have any.
Of course you're right.
How they came to be there I know not, but it was not the solitary existence we have now. Humans visited often and were quite welcome.
Seems a drastic change.
Yes.
Why the change?
Mother and father did not know to be able to tell us. This was before their time as well. They said they remember being told that one day the humans simply stopped visiting, as did the food they would give. There were many merfolk and only so large a lake.
And only so many tadpoles and hyacinth plants.
Yes.
So?
That's when father would get quiet and mother would change the subject. I only ever knew mother, father, my uncle and auntie.
And where are they now?
When I was little, I was fascinated by birds. I especially liked the blue ones. One spring, I watched as a mother bluebird constructed a nest in a nearby tree. Not the large one, but one that was lower. It was still tall to me, but if I pulled myself up on a large rock, I'd just about sneak a peek of her eggs. There came a morning I heard the noisiest chirps and I eagerly scrambled to climb the rock to see the squawking babies. They were hideous. No feathers and all beak and ruckus. The mother bird returned and began feeding them. I was horrified again. Do you know how a mother bird feeds her babies?
Yes, I do.
Well, I didn't.
It's quite a sight.
I felt as though a joke had been played on me. I had been expecting something adorable and cute, and that most certainly was not that. But while on my perch, I saw something equally strange in the distance.
Something else ugly?
From behind a distant bush, I saw it. It had a face similar to us and chest like that of my father and uncle. I saw a hand attached to a very strong arm which began to wave to me. I thought it only polite to wave back. Mother called to me asking what I was doing, and I pointed to the strange creature. She shouted for me to come down into the water, and I did. She spoke so quickly and furiously to father and auntie and uncle, I could barely but make out a word. Us girls were told to hide, and so we did, not understanding why. We all went to the deepest, darkest part of the lake, and there we stayed. We watched the sun go to sleep and the moon appear. For days and nights we stayed as still as we could, not allowed to speak or ask why. On the fifth coming of the moon, father decided to surface. I remember mother clinging to him silently, pleading him not to, but he went. We waited. I wasn't even certain what we were waiting for. And then we heard muffled voices and then louder voices. Uncle swam up with such speed to the top, and then more shouting and splashing. Auntie and mother told us not to move from our hiding spot. Not for anything, no matter what. We were so scared. We heard such terrible noises. We buried ourselves in the muck of the depths, and I closed my eyes. I do not know how long it was until it was quiet again. When the sun appeared and we four were still alone and the other four had not returned, I volunteered to go up.
You?
Yes. I summoned all my courage and swam to the surface. Uncle and father, they were there at the shoreline. I swam to father. I was so relieved to see him, I hugged him. He did not hug me in return, and I thought he was sleeping, but he wasn't.
And your uncle?
The same.
And what of your aunt and mother?
There was no sign of auntie or mother. They were just gone. They were all gone, and it's all my fault.
He surrounded her with his arms and cradled her head on his shoulder.
No.
Yes. I climbed the rock, I waved. It's my fault they're dead.
Poor darling, how could you know? How could you know to fear humans when you had never seen one? Sheltered little angel. No, no, no.
They hate me.
Who?
Mia and Tina and Tonya. I made us without mothers or fathers.
Sweet precious thing, hush.
Stupid Maya. This is all your fault. You wanted to look so badly, then that's what you'll do. You're the lookout.
Now, you need to take a breath. Those gills of yours need water, don't they? Take a breath.
She struggled in doing so.
You can do better than that. I'll do it with you. In we go. And out. There you are. Another. What a good girl you are.
She shook her head.
A wonderfully brave, resilient, lovely soul.
Her breathing began to slow.
Very good.
He rubbed her back gently.
There we are. Breathing so well. So it seems obvious now why your tiny troop swiftly dispatches all who dare venture near. Dear Maya, why would you even consider letting me loose? Why choose a dangerous human to help you?
Mia was told you were a knight. And your shipmates said knights are loyal, truthful, and tasked with helping the distressed. Who better to rely upon?
So all your decisions are influenced by lies.
You've told me the truth now.
And you now know I am not a knight.
Not by bloodline, no, but by your actions.
If you'll pardon me a moment.
He moved to stand.
Thomas?
I said I need a moment.
You despise me. You hate me just like them.
He took her again in his arms.
No, Maya, that isn't so. It's not.
I'm sorry. I only meant you were quiet. Gentle. I couldn't just let you perish.
He lifted her out of the water and set her on his lap as she buried her face in his neck.
There.
He held her as she sobbed.
I need to put you back. All these tears, you're going to dry out quicker than usual.
He unwrapped her from his neck and slid her back into the water of the lake.
Rest now. I'll still hold your hand. I'm not going anywhere. I'll stay by your side.
He stretched out to lay on the ground and held her hand in his as they went to sleep.
Thank you for listening to this episode of At the Water's Edge. Please visit our website for more storytelling experiences